Greetings, everyone. Thank you for jumping on for the third session as well. We have Swati today. She's one of my favorite privacy engineers in the whole world. And she's been here for the last 3 years and not missed a single festival. So thank you for that contribution, Swati. And she has a title in the Privacy Village. So as you can see, there's a tower behind me. That's called the Tower of Privacy Engineering, and Swati is the beloved guardian of that tower. So she was managing the Slack and answering questions about privacy engineering with her deep wisdom throughout all these years. And Swati, I'm just gonna talk for a minute or so more so that I'll let people in. So we can start around past 5 if it's okay for you. And you have a slide this time, right?
Yes, I do. I have a slide deck.
Perfect. Would you like me to share that, or would you be sharing your screen?
No, I will share my screen.
Perfect. So for today's third session, this is for those who wants to turn their privacy passion into a career, actually. And today we have Swati Popuri with us, the powerhouse data privacy architect, as I call her. Behind major implementations in currently Allegis Group, but previously as a privacy engineer in Twitter, in X. So she didn't just survive the trenches of big tech companies. She tried winning awards for making complex data governance accessible. And in this session, she will be sharing some cheat codes for privacy job interviews for those who are looking for a career change perhaps, or getting a promotion. So yes, Swati, thank you so much for being here. So you can share your screen and let me pin you for everyone.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Maud, for the introduction. I'm really excited to be here. Yes, as you have mentioned, I love joining and being a part of Data Privacy Day Fest for so many years. It's been a tradition for the Data Privacy Day, and I'm really excited to be back. So today I have a very interesting topic. I will be talking about hiring and the kind of jobs that are in privacy, maybe not so much from the legal aspect, but more from the technical and the privacy engineering perspective aspect of it. And as Mert has already introduced, first of all, I always make a disclaimer that everything that I will be sharing and speaking about is my own personal view and opinion, and is not that of my organization or my employer, present and past. And with that said, I am located in Austin, Texas, and I work for Allegis Group as a data privacy architect. And in my role, I work mainly on the technical privacy implementations for the various transformative initiatives. And even in the past, I have had similar roles at Twitter on their privacy and data governance team. And I was also with American Airlines on their data engineering and analytics team, doing the same thing, technical privacy implementations. And I was with American Airlines for a period of 10 years. So with that, let me share my screen. And just, I'm trying to, the Google, yes.
In the left
I
of
found.
the smiley face.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Okay.
again, everyone, please let us know if you have any questions in the chat, or just like open your mic and ask them. We would love it to be interactive as it can be. If it's okay for you too, Swati, of course.
Yes, of course.
Perfect. And I already know your allegiance, which faction it stands with, but for, again, this year's sake, which faction are you on, Swati? The AI Apocalypse team or AI Fundamentalist team? Your answer will win 100 experience points to the relevant team.
It's the fundamentalist team.
All right. So it's the third consecutive fundamentalist speaker. So I hope to see more Apocalypse members in the upcoming events, because now they're 300 experience points ahead. So yeah, I'll be quiet, and the stage is yours, Swati. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mert. And are you able to see the screen and hear me okay?
Crystal clear.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so let's dive in. So, so privacy space over the last decade, and I have been in the privacy space for quite some time now. Like I mentioned, I was with American for 10 years, and I was with Twitter for 2 years, and I have been with Allegis for about 3 years now. So I have been in the privacy space definitely over the last decade, and various regulations which are like these 3 and 4 letter alphabets, which may or may not make any sense when they are initially announced by the regulators, but then later on they are all encompassing and overwhelming and overly consuming all of your time and bandwidth in becoming compliant with these regulations. So these regulations have mainly led to hiring and increase in the role in the various privacy job roles. Some of them I have listed here is privacy and analysts, auditors, engineers, lawyers, program managers, and also cross training of software engineers and technical program managers, especially in the privacy domain. And also, over the last decade, privacy has been more and more becoming like a feature for a product, which means that messaging apps started to introduce end to end encryption, browsers started to add anti tracking features like the global privacy control GP signal. There was this increasingly increased adoption of cookie banner, wherein you should be given an option to reject all cookies or to not let the organization sell or share your data, and you have control over your preferences. And another big one was the Apple's app tracking transparency framework, the ATT, and similarly the Android's equivalent for that. Moving on to the next slide. Also, over the previous decade, there have been new technologies that were either they created novel privacy they were created with novel privacy considerations or lack of privacy considerations, and some examples being blockchain, Web3, Gen AI, and even I would say the cloud computing as well. And these led to societal implications such as surveillance, more and more data breaches as all the data is now residing in the cloud, and then more and more data brokers getting access to the data, identity theft, lack of privacy, and also the third party risk. I'm sure the previous session that you all must have attended, they touched upon the third party risk, which is increasingly kind of almost scary with the whole Gen AI and all the vendors that are using Gen AI. And so, with that, this particular like the dashboard or the speedometer that I have here is it really depends on the organization's privacy posture and their privacy risk appetite on where they are present when it comes to their approach to viewing privacy. So, on the very left side of the scale is when the organization strictly considers privacy as a compliance related function, that we need to do certain things in order to be compliant. Whereas on the extreme right side of the scale is where the organization considers privacy as a differentiator, wherein they want to get so if the privacy team is sitting with an organization on the very left side, wherein the organization treats privacy strictly as a compliance, then it is for then the job functions for that particular people who are in that privacy team. They may be mostly related to audit related, coming up with policies, providing guidance and governance and checklists, and also the third party risk management related functions, identifying the risk and mitigating the risk or assessing the risk. And for the folks that are sitting on a privacy team with an organization, on the extreme right side would be where the organizations consider privacy as a differentiator. So these folks in this privacy team, they help the company get better, faster and stronger and at scale with privacy. So this could mean building user facing privacy features on the product itself, or setting the ethical product tone, or it could also mean building infrastructure tooling for retention, automatic data classification, automatic data tagging and logging, and all these sorts of things. But for many organizations, it could be somewhere in between, wherein they, as like I said, this is a sliding scale, and depending on where the organization views how they view the privacy as, the privacy team in that organization also gets to do very different kind of work, whether it is strictly for compliance needs, or to make them as an innovator and differentiator in the privacy space. And based on that, so the day-to-day job functions this particular team would do would be very different depending on where the what the how the organization approaches privacy, and where the privacy team is situated in that sliding scale. So here again, I am. The roles could be privacy lawyer, analyst, auditor, risk analyst. Again, the privacy analyst could be also very much towards very technical, or it may or may not be technical. It really is. There is really no strict job standard on these are the job functions and responsibilities for this particular role. And somewhere in between would be like a privacy product manager. Other names for them is trust and compliance manager or privacy program manager. And to the very right is a privacy engineer, architect, privacy technical program manager. And also sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, there could be like a software engineer title, but their specialization could be in privacy, sometimes even security. And that is also another important thing I want to mention on where the organization sits with respect to the security team. So sometimes it is like a spin off from the security team, wherein it could be like a very small offshoot of the security team. And it might even have loaned resources from the security team as wearing another hat and functioning as a privacy analyst or a privacy engineer. I have also seen a setup like an organizational hierarchy and setup where they may or may not be part of the security team, but there is always a very close cross-functional collaboration with the security team. And the privacy function itself may be an independent organization, depending on the maturity of the organization, and also how much budget has been allocated for the privacy function at the organization level. With that, I wanted to strictly keep this session for a somewhat technical side, rather than more of the auditing or the legal aspect of privacy. So usually the kind of questions I have seen for like a very technical privacy engineering interview, when it comes to a system design interview, it would be pretty much in line with the regular technical systems design sort of a questions, but then there would be like a privacy spin to it on like tell us about a recommendation or a trade-off around privacy that you had to make. Or let's say you are designing a system, for example, there's so many systems like a messaging app, or you could be designing like a hotel reservation system and things like that. And then there but whenever you're bringing or answering those questions, you always bring in the privacy issues that are inherent in the system design and operations, or privacy challenges or concerns that may have been overlooked during the system design, and how can you build this product in a more privacy friendly manner. So that could be like a, after you respond to that particular system design interview question, you can also always bring in the privacy lens on it. And also another important thing that you will, it will be good if you cover like a bonus points is the security requirement conflicting with the privacy requirement in this particular system design, because sometimes there could be conflicting, for example, let's just take end-to-end encryption. So end-to-end encryption provides excellent security and privacy, but then it also really, it becomes really hard to detect cases such as uh, let's say there is like a like a sexual abuse or human trafficking or things like these, and you might want to intercept those, and if you want to stop them uh, or tag such content, then it might get really difficult. So those are some of the, like the edge cases. If you present and talk about them, it will be really good in the privacy oriented manner for the system design interview questions. And there is also another privacy oriented behavioral interview sort of questions, wherein here again, like any typical behavioral interview, there could be like tell us about a time when you learned from a failure, or what was one critical feedback you received and how did you receive it, or what was the action you took. So again, there could be like a spin from the privacy angle to those behavioral interview questions, such as let's say you had a different perspective on a or a on how the product should be designed from a privacy aspect, whereas the team disagreed. They said it's either too complicated, or it interferes with the latency, or it's just going to make the system so much slower. So how did you handle that, and how do you present that in such a scenario? And also, another typical question I have seen is how, as a privacy engineer, do you establish trust and build like a healthy relationship with partners in engineering and legal? Because privacy is a very cross collaborative function. So it's rarely something like there is this just one team that sits in one little corner of the organization doing their thing. Privacy doesn't work like that. It has to work in close collaboration with all of the teams to ensure that we are privacy and compliant. And another question that I have often seen is how do you get buy in from the senior leadership for the, let's say you proposed a privacy program to implement the program. And then how do you get the buy in? Like, how do you present your case? Some examples could be, let's say your program is about minimizing data and reducing the storage costs. And the way it is in line with the privacy function is you're becoming compliant with retention guidelines, the record retention schedule. For example, you don't have to hold on to, or according to GDPR and a couple of other regulations, there is like a set number of years for which you are going to safeguard the data, and after which you are going to safely and securely purge that information. So when you are maybe building a case for your data minimization program, you can also present to the senior leadership that the metrics around how much of storage cost this is going to save, and also how the compute is going to get faster when you have to query from a table which has, instead of, let's say, instead of 1 billion records, let's say it just only has 10 million records, and how much faster your queries are going to retrieve. So you could present those metrics. in addition to stating how you will be compliant with the regulations, the record retention guidelines. And another question I have seen is, how do you instill privacy culture and principles in your organization? So this could be something like how you may have in the past built privacy champions or cross-trained people in your different organizations, and then having road shows and depicting the best practices for a quarter and things like that. And you could be showcasing how much of an impact you had in terms of clear metrics. For example, let's say before you conducted these road shows, maybe you were having, I don't know, 10 privacy incidents a quarter. And after you increase the awareness on how how it is easy to adopt your privacy tooling and things like that, from the infrastructure perspective, maybe the incidents went down from 10 incidents a quarter to 5 incidents a quarter. So having the metrics and presenting your impact in terms of quantitative metrics is it really helps in making your case when answering these questions. And also, how do you measure the success of your privacy program? This is also somewhat it's a little nuanced on how do you build the metrics around the privacy program itself. It could be qualitative and quantitative. So in the previous example that I have mentioned about the data minimization program, so the success, you could be showing like how much of a GB of data was purged or how your queries are trading faster, and then also the number of incidents going up or are they going down, so you could measure them in that way. However, honestly, I believe on the real answer the interviewer is looking for is, how do you measure the return of investment on this particular privacy program? And there is really not an easy way to respond to such a question, because the return of investment or the ROI for privacy program is sort of in the gray zone. Because let's say you did not have the privacy program, and then you had like a regulator impose a penalty or a fine, then there is like a quantitative number, like this many millions of dollars needs to be paid as penalty. But then, because you had the privacy program and you are improving the maturity of the privacy function in the organization, there is no such penalty that was imposed, or maybe there is an regulatory inquiry, and then you were in a situation where you could provide all the audit logs and all the information that was requested in the inquiry, and as a result of that the inquiry was closed. So now there is no such penalty or fine, but then you cannot really prove that I saved this many dollars for my organization, because there is no such regulatory penalty or a regulatory fine that was imposed. So, like I said, if it's kind of in the gray zone on how you measure the success or how you articulate the return of investment for a particular privacy program. But it really depends on when you're building your answers. For example, there are like these two formats. There is a star format, and which is situation, task, action, result. So you describe the situation, and then you mention what kind of tasks or actions you have taken, and as the result, how did it save the organization this much of storage costs or this much of money or things like that. And then the CAS, which is the context, action, it's CAR format. Context, action, and result, which is also the same thing. You're building the context or a challenge, and then you're telling the interviewer about the actions you have taken, and as a result, what was it that was accomplished. So depending on how you have built your star format or your car format, the response to how do you measure the success or the return of investment, it could vary based on how you have provided the context. And then Okay. And this is like a bonus research on the company. So when you're interviewing with the company, one of the really good things to do when you are interviewing for a role in the privacy department would be to research the company's privacy policies and any public statements that have been issued. And then if it is an app or if there is like an account login or setup, then I would recommend that you play with the account creation workflow and consent to opt in and opt out by creating and then opting out your preferences and see if there are any broken flows or how long does it take, and then definitely submit a data subject access right request to that company to delete your data, or request to download your data from the company, and then experiment with any such deletion workflows or edge cases. So when you are talking to the interviewer itself, you can impress the interviewer about how you have played around with these user facing privacy aspects. And if you have noted down any problems or issues, then you can bring about your expertise on how you can help the organization fix those broken flows. That is pretty much it I had for this session,
Thank you
and
so
I
much,
will be
Swati.
happy to take questions.
Thank you so much. I have some questions, but like, can I kindly request that you reshare the slides?
Yes.
It was based on the slides.
Okay. Okay. Do you see my slides?
Yes, now I can.
Okay. Present.
So I think it was the second or third slide
Okay.
regarding the roles.
Oh, this one?
Um,
No, this
the one with the
slide.
dashboard. Yep.
Oh, sorry.
So
Yes.
for first question is like, what's the difference between, I'm not quite sure, a privacy engineer and a privacy architect, to be concise.
Honestly, it's really, I would say both of them are very technical, and it is just the job function or the job role in an organization on how the organization has specific titles, and it's really, there is really no homogeneity or uniformity
I see.
along these job titles and job roles.
And then like, regarding your day-to-day jobs, again, for like, I know some of the audience and they're more on the legal side, the ones that I know of, to like depict a picture in their eyes. What does Swati do on her day-to-day job, in her current role, let's say, as like a privacy architect is the role you have. What is your day-to-day job consist of?
Yes, definitely. So, in my day to day role, I work on like the technical implementation of the consent and preference management system. So, I work on consolidating the consent from across the various systems and then building a single source of repository. That is one thing I do. The other thing I do is making us like the ROPA compliant, for example, having an automated way to create the record of processing activity report through automation and scanning. So I work on a lot of automation and things like that. And other things I do is I also assist in privacy impact assessments, data transfer impact assessments, and also the actual encryption and masking of the data on the backend to ensure that we have all of those in place, and sometimes even the automated provisioning of these such requests when they come in.
Perfect. That sounds really interesting to me as like a legal background person. So like all the mysteries that happening, you are there and solving those mysteries in your day-to-day job. And what's your favorite part of it in your day-to-day job? So like, uh, what would you say in your the ones that you just listed? Your favorite parts include which ones?
I would definitely say the ones that among the ones that I listed, uh, I would say, so initially, the problem solving aspect of it is what I find it is most interesting, because initially when the case is presented, it might seem like, how do we like make this whole process privacy compliant, or because there is no initial setup, or the process is not streamlined enough, so it may be so chaotic and half a sad that everybody is doing their own thing. And then when there is no initial baseline, uh, creating the initial baseline and using the problem solving aspect of it, trying to understand where things can be repeated, or to what extent can this process be made repeatable. For example, I might provide guidance on how to mask PII data on a, let's say, on a Snowflake as a database. And then I have to, now there is something else that came in, which is like Tableau. Also, we want to do the provide guidance on how to mask PII data on Tableau. So in that aspect, maybe that, so there is bringing in to what extent can I take what was already built for Snowflake, and then how can I um, reuse and decouple the aspect that can be reused for Tableau. So bringing in that aspect of diving in deep to problem solve, and then understanding where the similarities begin and where they end, so that when there is a similar component, to what extent can that be repeatable. So building that process is what I like the most.
Thank you so much, Swati, for the answers.
Mhm.
Krupali asked, actually, she thanked you for the insightful presentation, and this was helpful. What would growth path look like for someone's career in privacy technology, especially for someone who is not a part of the legal side? And what should someone do in order to grow in this, especially technical side of things? Is her question.
Yes, definitely. So, hey, Krupali. Okay. So, for the privacy technical aspect, again, I think maybe not so much in terms of the job title, because like really you cannot get the title of director of the privacy team, because as such the privacy team itself is very small, and most of the time it may be a part of an infosec team wherein the privacy team is reporting into the chief information security officer. So the way I tend to look at it could be more of how much of an influence I can have on the other teams and working with the leaders of other business functions in the other departments. And the other way I tend to look at growth could also be in terms of when it comes to, let's say, there is like a, I don't know, some like a the exact word is a litigation case regarding something related to privacy went wrong, or something is, so somebody raised a court case that stating this is a certain thing. So then the way I tend to look at growth is in that in that scenario, there will be like a very small, like a tiger team that will be formed, which is like quick to dive into action. And then we need to produce results very quickly, because it is very sensitive, and it is a also very in terms of the timeline orientation. There is like a very hard deadline where we have to have a hard stop. So being associated into such high sensitive, high profile, and high visibility projects is how I would look at growth as, for like somebody in a privacy engineer or a privacy architect role, along with how much influence I'm able to have on these other cross functional department leaders who may be like directors. And again, like I said, there could be not so much of a in terms of title that you can grow in the space, because as such there may be not a lot of budget and it's a very budding and an early stage for privacy. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Swati. May I add my humble opinion on her question
Yes,
as
yes,
well?
yes.
So years back, like the first time when I was trying to write the Hitchhiker's Guide to Privacy Engineering comic book, I created this skills map, which I'm sharing the link through the chat,
Okay.
and it includes. Actually, Swati, can you share already sharing your screen? Can you
Yes,
click on the link,
definitely.
please?
Definitely.
Basically, what I did was like I went through all the job postings around privacy engineering and such, and I created like soft skills required, compliance skills, and technical skills as
Mm,
different columns. So like I hope this will be something beneficial for you. So I tried
mm,
to create the content of the comic book based on these findings.
mm.
But again, it's there. So like Swati, if you like, we could also collaborate on updating this because it's been like 3 or 4 years since I did this, and
Yes,
your inputs would be very much beneficial for updating this as well.
yes,
Uh,
definitely. Yeah, we
so I
can
just
work on
wanted
that.
to share that as well. Krupali, I hope that helps. So any other questions, dear attendees? Well, then I have a question. As I always, when I find you, I won't let you go, Swati, without any of questions of mine. So, during the past two sessions, there were discussions regarding like, and I ask this to you every year. So, like, I just want to know if there's an update on your answer and like, what are the current methods or practical ways of doing it. But we talked about like machine unlearning during the previous session, and especially like again in your day-to-day job, I know that you came across many instances of like if there's a deletion request in a machine learning model, what are the current best practices in 2026 that you know of or that you come across? I just want to take your opinion on that.
Sure. Honestly, maybe I'm a little behind on this because I believe it is really expensive to perform the machine unlearning, and it is kind of really hard. The only best way I can think of is maybe to have some form of an anonymization aspect included in the data set. However, I don't know if so that could be like for the future, which is we will take care of the deletion request and the data will no longer be used for training. But then up until that point, I am not sure if there is a way to do the unlearning, because I know, like for example, LinkedIn as an organization also gave the opportunity to the users to as a toggle button to unselect or deselect their preferences on whether their data should be used for the training or not. So after I opt in to deselect my preferences, I'm sure that LinkedIn will honor my request. But up until that point, even if I submit a DSAR request, I don't really think it's there is a way, because it's too expensive and I believe it's too complicated to do the unlearning.
Yeah, we had a similar answer during the previous session as well, so you're quite up to date, Swati, no worries. Any other questions? Otherwise, I have again one more question, and that's from the slides and from the technical interview, question one. Um,
Okay.
but I want to ask you actually to get like a proper response and to like again spark some ideas for the attendees to like how to answer properly. with regard to like what was one of the trade-offs that you came across as I'm just like trying to recall the question itself that you gone through with regard to a trade-off in privacy that you came across in a your day-to-day job as etc. Like, is there any examples that comes to your mind out of the blue with regard to like what could be a good answer to that from a real
Mhm.
life scenario?
Yes, definitely. So, one trade-off or one thing I would bring about from my time when I was at Twitter could be, let's say you get a request from a data science team, and they say that I need this data set to be anonymized because this is like a very important data set, and I need to, maybe it could be a case like they have received, like Twitter may have received a couple of DSAR requests, and they want to maybe anonymize those people and then continue to use the data set in the machine learning model. So if I get such a request, where I would start is I would start with getting clarifications on the requirement itself, because here the requester or the person who has approached me or my team is leading with a solution in mind, like the end solution. So they have come up with the solution and they're saying anonymization is the best thing for me. So can you implement this? That's what they're asking me. But I would go one step back and I would ask, like, why do they think anonymization is the best thing? Because there may be other solutions as well on the table, and also anonymization may not be the always the right solution. Plus it is also very hard in the sense that when it is the data set is joined with the other available publicly available data elements, it may no longer be anonymized. So that is one place I would start with. When it comes to like a trade-off, I will just go back, and instead of leading and taking that final conclusion and running with it, I would get really curious and ask them why did they even think and what was the business problem that they were trying to solve. And then from there, I would put my privacy hat on to investigate. Maybe there could be another way to accomplish the final solution.
Wow, thank you so much, Swati.
Mm.
That was really enlightening. And yeah, so like I'm checking my notes if there's so like one last question before parting ways would be um, how do you see the privacy market in general in the global scene? Especially with the rise of like again these AI governance roles coming up, etc. Do you see the privacy roles in advantage to grab onto these opportunities, considering the other uh, jobs that are currently on the market? And is there like I don't know, like my take on it is that the privacy people are the best ones to grab the new upcoming opportunities in this regard because that's what we already do, right? Analyze the system, mitigate the risks, and monitor it, and do the same thing for now ML systems. So, like, basically, the AI governance requires lots more with regard to how to analyze these technical systems. But, like, I'm really curious about your take on it.
Yes, definitely. So there is definitely alignment with the job function itself on how we and privacy, how we tend to assess the risk, and then to either have a solution to either mitigate the risk or propose a solution, or maybe have a, if not for there is, if it's not feasible, then we accept the risk, considering the prioritization of the risk and how it affects the organization's ability to continue to use that particular business function. So I would say definitely this is a good skill set to have when you're approaching AI governance. But there are a lot of other different aspects to AI governance itself, which which could mean like becoming more knowledgeable on how the model's metadata itself works, because it may not be as straightforward as understanding the data flows in the organization, because understanding the data flows in the organization is good enough for when it comes to the privacy compliance function. For example, let's say all I want to do is build a record of processing activity report, then that is good for me to know. But then in that particular case, for example, when I'm comparing and contrasting the same thing, there could also be a case where either I am inferring the data, or I may be creating profiles, or I may be generating new kind of data which did not exist before. Whereas earlier in the privacy function, I may not be generating new data. Maybe I am simply using and getting insights on like on a dashboard or visualization on that data. So there could be like different aspects, or it's slightly more complex, is what I would say. So one good way is while you have all those skill sets with you on how to make the organization privacy compliant and improve the privacy posture of the organization, I would also suggest that getting upskilling yourself and becoming more knowledgeable on the AI training, AI model learning, model metadata, and the model catalog, and things like these. Because when you come up with a model card, it is has slightly more information than what may be present in a typical ROPA report. Well, it is like a yes, the baseline version you can start with the ROPA report, but then there is a lot more layers on the model card. So that is how I tend to look at it.
Again, perfect, enlightening answer, Swati. Thank you so much. As
Thank you.
always, your wisdom is very well appreciated in our humble village. And if there's any other questions, now it's your last call to ask the question. By the way, we still have newcomers as well, Swati. You're popular. Uh, so last call for any other questions from the audience. Otherwise, this is the end for today's session. So yeah, I think not, Swati. Um, Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your contributions, and hope to see you soon in other events. We have gaming sessions, Dungeons and Dragons, privacy nights, privacy quiz nights. So you're very welcome, Swati, to join all those events as well. And hope to see you, soon on the other events.
Thank you so much, Maud, for the opportunity. As always, I'm very excited to be here and happy to share my knowledge with the community. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Looking forward
Thank
for
you.
collaborating with you on the newsletter, etc. And see you soon. Take care, guys. Thank you, everyone, for being here. See you tomorrow. We have a gaming night, and the next session will be a Thursday, where we will host a creative AI session with the official illustrator of Game of Thrones, George R. R. Martin's latest book. So that will be cool to talk about some creative AI. Take care.